All right. Well, good morning or good afternoon or possibly even good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. I want to thank everybody for joining our webinar today. We'll get started in just a second. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think this is a hot topic that a lot of people are interested in, and I think we're really in for a treat. So welcome again to Verint live webinar. Our topic today is top reasons it's time to rethink your knowledge management strategy. So I'll cover a little bit of housekeeping while we wait for any late arrivals, but I don't want to wait too long because you guys have all signed in to join. So let's go ahead and do some of the housekeeping. Now, if you are hearing me talk, then you already know that audio for the webinar is streamed through your computer speakers. If you're not hearing me talk, hopefully you're reading the words on the slide, and you are now turning up the volume on your computer speakers. So hopefully now everybody can hear me. Now, while you can hear me, I cannot hear you. So if you do have questions, we encourage as many questions as you want, but you'll need to type them in the Q&A panel. So you'll see that little Q&A button that we have highlighted on this screen. So when you have a question, feel free to enter it into that Q&A panel. At the end of the presentation, I will go through those questions and pose them to our two speakers, and we'll get through as many as we can. If we don't get to your question during the live event, we will get back to you afterwards. So let's get to our speakers. We are very lucky today to have two experts in the field of knowledge management. First, we have Kate Leggett. She's the Vice President and Principal Analyst of Forrester Research, and Kate has lots of experience in all things customer service, and especially knowledge management. And joining Kate is our own Heather Richards, who is Verint's Vice President of Knowledge Management Product Strategy. I am Kelly Kelliker, Director of Content Marketing here at Verint, and I'll basically just be playing the role of MC today, and I'm going to let Kate and Heather do all the talking and sharing their expertise for you today. Now, before we get started, I wanted to try a poll so we can start to make sure you guys are paying attention and get a little view into where everyone is at with their knowledge management journey. So you should see a poll on your screen, and it's just a quick check-in of where you're at with knowledge management. Is this something you're just starting to take a look at, or are you actively looking at a new knowledge management solution, actively looking to make a change, or maybe you already have knowledge management, but you're always looking for ways to improve. So you're taking a look at some of the latest innovations to see how you're doing and what you may want to do differently. I see some answers coming in. I'll give it just a few more seconds to make sure people have time to get their answers submitted. So let me just wait a little bit. Now, I think regardless of where you're at in your journey, this will be a really educational presentation, because knowledge, I always like to say knowledge is a living and breathing thing. It's not something that just stays static. So even if you're just starting through all the way that you've deployed something, there's always things you can learn to improve over time. Okay, so let's see if we can, any final clicks on the submit button? Going once, going twice. All right, let's see what our results are. Well, that's good. A lot of people already have knowledge. We think everybody should have knowledge. So that's good to know that most of the respondents do. But a good chunk of you are actually just starting to take a look at it. So we have a good range here of experience levels. So we'll keep that in mind as we give the presentation. Now, without further ado, I don't want to waste any more time, so I will pass things over to Kate Leggett.
Okay, thanks, Kelly, and thanks to all of you who have taken an hour out of your busy days to learn about how to how to evolve your knowledge solutions. And the way I like to start talking about knowledge management is to really take a step back and talk about the impact of knowledge and the outcomes that knowledge management can deliver. And it's really all about delivering better experiences. And why do I want to start by talking about better customer experiences? It's because of where we are today, that we're surrounded by these consumer-grade experiences from brands like Amazon, like Netflix, like Apple, like Uber and Lyft. And these brands have really up-leveled our expectations for engagement and for customer service. And why do I list these brands? It's because, again, we're surrounded by these consumer-grade experiences, and we take these expectations of engagement into every interaction that we have with companies, either in our lives as consumers or in our business lives. And so we say that, again, that customers are empowered today because they expect any desired information or service to be available on any device at the time that you need it. So today, customers, because of these up-leveled expectations, customers are empowered. They control the conversations that they have with companies that they're doing business with. If they don't get the experience that they expect, they will take their business elsewhere. And so companies have to be obsessed with delivering great customer experiences, great customer service that's in line with customer expectations to be able to garner their satisfaction, their long-term loyalty to the brand. So what is a customer's expectation for service or for engagement? And at Forrester, we use this framework of 3 E's. Customers expect easy experiences. They expect to be able to effortlessly reach into a company over the channel of their choice, over the touch point of their choice, be able to move between channels without a loss of information. They expect to be effectively supported, meaning the customer wants their issue fully resolved in a personal way, and that's in context of their particular situation. And in terms of emotion, customers expect the company to have an understanding of who they are, their interaction, their transaction history, and do the right thing for them, basically building an emotional connection with the customer so that the customer walks away from having done business with the company feeling good, again, about having done business, having interacted with the company. Why do we care about delivering these great experiences? It's because a satisfied customer is one who is more likely to keep their business with the company. They're less likely to churn away from that brand. A satisfied customer is one who is more likely to look at a company for additional products, a cross-sell, an upsell, a whole new other product. A satisfied customer is one that's more likely to recommend the company, the product, the services to their network, ultimately driving second-order sales. And so these 3 dimensions of loyalty that you see on the screen here, customer retention, customer enrichment, which is increasing the lifetime value of the customer, and customer advocacy, directly impact top-line revenue. And ultimately, that's why you care about delivering customer experiences, because it is good for business. And at Forrester, we go a step further, and we can actually quantify the revenue impact of us leveling your customer, the experience that you deliver to your customers. Every year, Forrester measures the customer experience that hundreds and hundreds of companies that are organized in dozens of industries deliver. And what we do is we calculate the revenue impact that a company can realize if they delivered a customer experience score that was just a point better than what they do today. And that's all that data that you're looking at in the rightmost column. And so we validate these financial models that we've built out with years of data. So we validate these models with case studies of companies that have gone through these transformational efforts around customer experience. And in every industry that we have data on, we see that better customer experiences do translate into an increased top-line revenue. So that is why you care about the outcome of your knowledge management strategy and operations, because it will directly impact the experience that your customers will be able to realize. And customer service decision makers value delivering better customer experiences. Customer service is a key component of a company's customer experience strategy. About 2/3 of a customer's interactions with a company are for customer service. I mean, think about all the activities of a customer looking for information about the products or services before they actually purchase the product. That can be a type of customer service. Or as a customer gets onboarded or learns how to use the product, has questions about the product, they're interacting with customer service. Or if there's an issue that they have with the product or service, again, they're interacting with customer service. And the data that we're showing on the screen here is showing that contact center decision makers, customer service decision
It looks like we have temporarily lost Kate. This is Kelly back in here. Let me just give her 1 second. If she does not she does not come back in immediately, I'm going to fast forward a little bit to get to Heather's section. Heather, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. So let's see. So let me give her just a second, because I don't want her to lose her flow if she doesn't have to. But let's
okay, I'm back.
There we go. She's back. Okay. No worries.
Sorry about that.
Okay. So that's okay. We will pick up right where you were.
Webinar. Okay. So basically, this data chart is saying that customer service decision makers care about delivering great customer experiences. How did they do that? Again, think back to the 3 E's of customer experience that I talked about: ease and effectiveness of interaction, as well as emotion. Make it easy for your customers to get help. Value their time. And again, a data point from Forrester says that 3/4 of your customers say that valuing their time is the most important way to provide great self-service. And here's some other data from actually Dimension Data from their benchmarking report that's showing that 88% of decision makers project that their self-service volume, their automated engagement volume, the little box that I have in red, is going to increase. And self-service is fueled by knowledge management. And why is knowledge management so important? It's because it's able to power self-service interactions. And self-service is a great way for customers to have their time valued. You're exposing in a contextual way the right answers to customers so that they can self-serve, they can get the answers to their common questions, and they can move on with their busy day. And knowledge management, again, if it's done right, it's able to provide a balanced scorecard of goodness. It's able to increase customer satisfaction, again, because your customers can self-serve. Customers are self-serving, again, as a first point of contact with a company. It can also, knowledge management can help standardize answers. So in regulated industries where you have to be compliant to government, to company policy, it's ensuring that a validated answer that's being reproducibly given to all customers. It's able to decrease operational costs, again, because you're empowering customers to self-serve. You're ultimately deflecting calls and inquiries into your contact center. And if you do knowledge management really well, it can also help drive customer engagement and revenue. And let me explain this by using this chart. So not only can knowledge management help you provide better customer support by arming your customers as well as your agents with the answers to common reproducible problems, but again, it can help customers in their buying journey, in their pre-purchase journey, better understand the products that they're considering to buy, make them feel more confident that they're making the right purchase, which ultimately drives conversion and revenue. More than that, if you expose comprehensive knowledge, it's not only curated content, but peer-generated content, plus perhaps educational material around best practices, knowledge management can help drive customer engagement because your customers go back to your website looking for answers to their questions, looking for information about best practices, looking for tips and help. And again, knowledge, having this content available in an easily consumable way helps keep your customers engaged with your brand and ultimately drives their retention and decreases customer churn. So there's a lot of goodness around knowledge management and how it's able to deliver better customer experiences for your customers. So with that, Heather, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Kate. So taking the changes in the market that Kate just talked about, consumer and employee expectations, et cetera, Verint really believes that knowledge management is necessary to address those, but actually a change in the approach to, I guess, how knowledge management has traditionally been seen is also required. So knowledge management can't simply be seen as a discipline in terms of ways to actually manage your knowledge, but actually must be approached in the context of these market changes. So instead of looking at KM as a process, actually approach it with the desired outcome being efficiency. And if you do this, it means you're actually producing a superior customer experience while at the same time actually using these gains in effort as a way to increase operational efficiencies. And so this is really a win-win through knowledge management. This approach allows you to put an elevated customer experience and business benefits together to create an ROI for knowledge management. And we think that that's a really compelling way of approaching it. So as Kate was saying, there's a real revenue impact in terms of the association of customer experience and KM. Now, this can be done through really interesting advances in technologies that are now being delivered in terms of knowledge management. So how do you automate knowledge management, for example? And it's actually through advances in information retrieval, as well as the availability of the data and information that people now have access to at their fingertips. So AI, for example, APIs, taking the flexibility and agility of cloud deployments. And if the consumption, creation, and sharing of knowledge can be automated through the combination of AI and API deployments. Actually allowing knowledge to be contextually shared, the results are actually some amazing business outcomes. So if you sort of look at the various knowledge automation outcomes that we've been seeing within our own customer base, you see improved customer experience, a rapid and proven ROI linked to that, but a solution that actually aligns people, operations, and culture. And that's really key, because if you look at issues, for example, of adoption, which from my experience has been one of the biggest hurdles to positive knowledge management outcomes, if the technology addresses some of these issues, you're one step ahead in having a successful outcome through knowledge management. So you're trying to align people, operations, and cultures around the goal of delivering knowledge in the most effortless way possible. And then you can drive that adoption through and across an organization, leading to much more successful outcomes. So one of our customers, Wolseley, is the largest plumbing distributor in the world. They first came to us looking for a knowledge management solution that was essentially going to provide a great customer experience, which was good because their outcomes and what we were going to provide were definitely aligned. But what was really interesting is that the outcomes reached far beyond that. And you see, the results that they reported weren't just an increase in Net Promoter Score, but also enabled some amazing internal outcomes, such as a 37% increase in employee engagement, which then leads on to a better customer experience. The creation of a true shared service center, where new agents that were only able to cope and serve 2 brands were now able to do 10 because of the availability and information at their fingertips. And what's interesting there is actually the increase in online sales. And in that way, you're not just looking at conversion rates, for example, from a web self-service model where KM is deployed, but actually what it was doing was freeing up agents to have deeper, more meaningful conversations with the customers on the end of the phone, and actually allowed them to actually start upselling and cross-selling other services while they were in the middle of a support call. And that was definitely an unexpected result from a great knowledge management deployment. So if you take this knowledge automation ethos just one step further, you get to what Verint refers to as knowledge as a service. And this is utilizing the power of AI-infused knowledge retrieval with technologies that actually allow the information and knowledge to be surfaced through multiple devices. So you look at different user journeys, different technologies, and you're truly delivering the right information to the right person at the right time. And this enables a few different knowledge management outcomes. If you take this approach in terms of being able to deliver knowledge into this multiplicity of devices, it allows you to start in one place, but actually future-proofs an organization's investment in knowledge. So if your knowledge is not tied down to a single platform, you're actually able to reuse your knowledge through multiple channels. It allows you to onboard knowledge at any place within your organization, depending on your own digital transformation objectives and journeys. So it could be contact center, web self-service, chat, intelligent voice assistants, and then actually seamlessly build this out to other channels when appropriate. And it could be customers, distributors, partners even. It also means you can start with standalone knowledge deployment, integrate with existing legacy infrastructure, and then have the surety that as and when new technologies are introduced, like new CRM apps or even VR devices for field service engineers, the same tech can be used for these use cases as well. So regardless of the starting point, the message in terms of this new approach to knowledge management is that knowledge management can be the foundational layer to any customer services initiative. And what this allows is for that cost of ownership for knowledge actually decreases, and your knowledge investment starts growing at the same pace of change as your organizational change. And this is a completely different approach to what was a monolithic knowledge management platform that used to be, just built out through infrastructure or actually having to be duplicated for different use cases. It's much more agile. So when you look at aggregated results from using this approach, you see that the results are actually enterprise value that are driven through the automation of knowledge, approaching every knowledge deployment with the view of how do I make this experience as effortless as possible, both for the customer, your partners, your agents, back office, front office. And it's particularly important now that more and more employees, and this is exactly what Kate was saying, employees expect the same experience within the workplace as out of it. What were just customer-facing technologies a few years ago are now being brought into the workplace to address employee expectations of efficient interactions, fast information retrieval, and seamless user experiences. We're going to move on to another poll midway through here, and that question being, what's your primary interest in, or reason for your interest in knowledge management? To help customers serve themselves, to reduce handle time in the contact center, reduce training time for new agents, improve overall customer satisfaction, or other. So I'm going to give people a few minutes to talk about or give us feedback specifically on your primary reason for interest in knowledge management. I think this is a really interesting question for a lot of the reasons that I was just talking about in terms of that really the multiplicity of use cases that now exist for knowledge. It'll be interesting to see out of you where you're looking to actually start your knowledge management initiatives. I'll give that a couple more minutes so that we can see the answers there. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the poll slide. What we'll see here is it's a mix, actually, of, I guess, what we traditionally call self-service, as well as reducing handle times in the contact center. And then the overall customer satisfaction looks like it wins, which absolutely plays into, I think, the message that both Kate and myself are trying to get across in terms of using knowledge management to improve customer CX through that effortless experience, which in turn allows you to build out operational efficiencies and put an ROI around customer experience. For me, that's really exciting because for a long time, customer satisfaction was a very fluffy aim, and you're actually being provided tools now that allow a business case to be built around it. I'm going to move on now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting, Heather, again, because even a couple years ago, you think about knowledge management being able to provide operational efficiency, and it's really to allow customers to self-serve and allow agents as well to deliver superior customer service, where agents have confidence in the answers that they are delivering to their customers, and agents are able to get onboarded and up to speed more quickly because they're able to rely on this corpus of curated answers. So what I wanted to do a little bit here is to shift gears and talk about the importance of knowledge for agent-assisted interactions, and the way that some trends around the changing nature of work that contact centers, customer service organizations are starting to experience. So we talked a lot about the importance of knowledge to be able to deliver better customer experiences, to allow customers to be able to self-serve. Again, customers want their time to be valued. They go to your self-service sites, your websites, your mobile sites as a first point of contact. We see that self-service volumes, interaction volumes, are projected to increase. But a side effect of this is that the better you do in delivering self-service, the better you do at answering the routine, reproducible questions that your customers have, what you see is that the harder work is actually getting to your agents. So the data that you're looking at on the screen here is the data that you've already seen. The top bar says that 88% of customer service organizations project that self-service volumes will increase. And what they also project, or 64%, project that their live agent volumes will decrease. The number of inquiries getting to live agents, whether they're chat agents or phone agents or other digital agents, will decrease. And again, and this is because the better you do with self-service, the more you're deflecting those easy questions. But even though agent-assisted interactions are fewer, these agent-assisted interactions tend to be longer and tend to be more complicated. And again, it's because all the straightforward inquiries are being picked up by self-service. And so the harder work, the exceptions, the corner cases are now getting to the contact center agent. And think about a typical customer flow. They have a question about a surcharge on their bill, or they're trying to understand why a certain prescription is not covered by their insurance. They will tend to go to the website or to their mobile site or mobile app. They'll try to self-serve. They can't find the answer to what they're looking for. At that point, they're going to feel anxious. They're going to feel angry, perhaps. They may feel frustrated because they've had their time wasted. And then they pick up the phone and call into your contact center. And again, the agent not only has to answer these harder questions, but you've got a frustrated customer on the other end of the phone call. So the agent is actually starting several steps back. They have to quickly understand the emotional state of the customer and then be able to quickly and effectively give the right answer to that customer. And so knowledge is even more critical in this situation to be able to empower agents with a proactive, personal, highly contextual content for the agent to be able to convey to this customer. And again, these agent interactions, they don't happen very often. And if you're able to get these interactions right, there are actually rare opportunities to help nurture and strengthen customer relationships, to be able to, again, deliver upon the promise of a quality of service that your brand promises to your customers. So again, knowledge is important for self-service interactions, but it's also incredibly important to be able to support agents with the harder interactions that are hitting the contact center. So back to you, Heather.
Thanks, Kate. So I just want to go through another mini case study that touches on a lot of the themes that Kate just talked about. From our perspective, knowledge management, or knowledge automation, as we're calling it, actually allows for employees, customers, partners, any consumer of knowledge to first experience that one version of the truth, but more importantly, moving on to what you can do with knowledge automation, start customizing and personalizing the information that you're going to be providing to those different audiences. So in many ways, that means using knowledge automation that can actually pick up contextual clues, such as the last piece of knowledge consumed, where a customer may be within their user journey, specific personalized information like products they already own, geographical location, etc. And this means that knowledge can be automatically delivered to the user based on the context of their interaction proactively. So rather than waiting for them even to initiate interaction with a question, you answer the question before it's asked. And what can actually be more efficient than that? Also, when Kate's talking about often those interactions that can't be automated then need to be picked up by agents and support staff. And knowledge management, knowledge automation can actually help with those as well. So there are new requirements and expectations being put on the support staff. And there's the necessity for them to actually have better and more complex softer skills to handle these more complex interactions. And the way that knowledge can help with these challenges is providing guidance through complex processes, automatically suggesting next best actions and other related subjects that the customer may need help with, using knowledge that the agent now has at their fingertips through these new knowledge technologies. So if you actually look at some of the impact this has, the results really speak for themselves. This Verint customer taking the approach of knowledge automation, creating and implementing knowledge with a reduction of effort in mind is the end goal, was actually able to see results in terms of improved NPS, improved call quality, and actually, in line with what we were describing earlier, talk time actually becomes more valuable and less transactional. And knowledge automation actually enabled a transformed customer experience through a shift in the KPIs within the customer service center. So the agents are now actually being encouraged to support longer talk time with the knowledge that the conversations they are having are more meaningful, increasing customer experience, and therefore revenue outcomes for utility warehouse. Whereas before it was just how quickly, how many calls can you get through. But knowledge automation has actually started transforming the KPIs and expectations and behavior and even skills of people within the contact center. So the way these results are achieved is a shift or a transformation in the knowledge management strategy. Instead of really looking at knowledge management as a discipline, in many ways an academic practice almost, that's very time-consuming, effort-intensive, relies on lots of manual tagging and data sets and taxonomies, etc. That the new approach is modern, agile, and driven by AI. So if you have a knowledge approach that focuses on these three tenets, understands, anticipates, and improves, what you have is a solution that understands what people mean, not necessarily what they type, is starting to anticipate what you want in terms of your knowledge requirements before you even have to ask for it, and improves with continued use. So as you add knowledge, as you delete knowledge, the information within the knowledge base starts self-clustering and reordering relationships, which means that the creation of information as well as the retrieval of information actually becomes automated. So I really like this quote from Forrester, and recently published in their Tech Tide report for contact center technologies and customer service, that states that knowledge management solutions are seeing a second life through AI technologies, and they're now acting as a foundation of modern self-service operations. So knowledge management used to be providing tools to organize a haystack, which is how I like to think of it. But it's more and more becoming about how to reduce the effort in finding the needle. And that's a transformational shift in approach, not just in terms of philosophy, but in terms of the technologies required to achieve that. So the technologies available today that provide fast deployment times and agile approach to KM that enable organizations to rethink their existing knowledge management strategies are actually able to deploy technology that addresses the challenges that organizations have today and future-proofing them against those that they'll face tomorrow. And that's where I was talking before about being able to really onboard knowledge at any point within your organization and then reutilizing that later on. So the changing nature of work, the expectations of employees, they'll all continue to drive the changes within the KM market, and also knowledge management requirements. So the knowledge management mantra really of understand, anticipate, and improve that I talked about a couple slides back will continue to shape and change the shape of customer support operations as well as customer experience expectations. I'll change back to Kate now.
Yeah, so knowledge management is really at the heart of empowering self-service operations, allowing your customers to self-serve, to value their time, to be satisfied with the service that you are able to deliver. But knowledge management is also at the heart of agent-assisted interactions, supporting those agents in being able to work on the harder issues that are coming into the contact center. Heather talked in her case study that she shared about how some organizations are using knowledge to help transform the KPIs, where you're seeing increased talk times with customers, where you really want those conversations, again, they're getting longer, they're getting more complex, but they're rare opportunities to help nurture customer relationships. I've got two examples to share with you about how knowledge is really impacting customer service work. So one example is Tier 1 Imports. They have a tremendous amount of product data and information on their website. And so what they've seen is a shift in the actual agent profile that they hire. They actually don't hire agents anymore. They don't hire generalists. They hire actual designers or individuals who are passionate about home decorating, because the conversations that they have with their customers, the agent-assisted conversations, are more consultative and intimate about helping design a room, for example, or coming up with a color palette that would be suitable for a room. And again, these are longer conversations, and the longer conversations have a direct impact to actually customer conversion and revenue. Another example is a tax preparation software vendor. They have an application to be able to help you in your tax preparation efforts. They don't have typical agent profiles, but they're now hiring for two types of agent profiles. One of them is a software engineer who can help their customers troubleshoot or answer questions about the actual tax prep application. The other profiles that they're hiring for are actual tax accountants to help their customers be able to recognize their taxes properly. So again, with the knowledge empowering these self-service interactions, what you see is a real shift in the composition of a contact center agent profile. What we see is that some jobs end up being redundant. For example, your generalists, your tier 1 agents are slowly being subsumed by self-service technologies. But then other roles become more important. For example, the knowledge worker, as well as the subject matter expert, or what I call the super agent, or even the field technician. These are the agents who are directly interfacing with your customers, having those longer, those value-added conversations. And then there's new jobs that end up emerging, which are primarily centered around supporting self-service technologies, not only knowledge management, but as well conversational interfaces, chatbots, virtual agents, and then the engineering skills to be able to help build and tune all the AI models that are used by these applications. So back to knowledge management, we're really seeing the knowledge management solutions have the second life. There's a real resurgence in interest around knowledge management. Again, because they're used to field self-service operations, they're also used to empower agents in the contact center. And these knowledge management solutions have to be able to corral all the data and information out there to be able to serve up the best possible answer at the right time in the process to the agent or to the customer. And so what we see is these modern knowledge solutions have a much broader way to be able to ingest content. They're taking content from product documentation, from engineering release notes, from Slack conversations, from social signals, from peer-created content. Once you have ingested knowledge, you want to be able to deliver knowledge at the right point in a process, at the point where the customer or the agent can act on it. And again, you want to value your customer's time. You want to value your agent's time. You want to proactively push the right knowledge to the agent or to the customer at the right point in the process. You want to be able to quickly understand the intent of the question being asked. You need to understand, for example, the nuances of like how people ask a question and then be able to search for the right answer. As well, you want that best answer surfaced. You don't want a list of search results. You want the best answer that is learned over time from other customer and agent interactions. And ultimately, these new knowledge solutions are much less people intensive than the older solutions, where you're using cognitive technologies like Heather said, to cluster, to link, to automatically refine knowledge as it's continuously used. And again, you're doing, there's a lot more automation in these systems with a lot less administrative overhead. So just to close out, a couple takeaways from this webinar. First of all, realize that great customer experiences quantitatively impact top-line revenue, and employee experiences, allowing your agents to have a technology to be able to quickly and in a personal, effective way interact and answer your customer questions.
Have we lost Kate again? So we were on her wrap up, and that we can just run through these slides quick, and then while she is dialing back in, I want you guys to all start typing all your questions into the question box. I did see a couple of them come in already, so I will spend the remaining time facilitating that Q&A. So just to, you can see the last bullets on her slide. So let me just pop over to this screen to remind you how to add your questions into the Q&A panel. Again, we've got about 5 minutes. We've got 10 minutes left, but we've got some other wrap-up things. So I will start to go over to this Q&A panel, and Kate, when you're back, let me know. Otherwise, I will just, okay, fantastic. So we're going to start taking these questions. I did see a few come in. Again, anybody on the webinar who wants to type some in at the last minute, we'll see how many we have time for. This first one is for Heather. I think this one came in quite early, and I think you hit on it a little bit, and it's also it's a tricky question to give a perfect answer to. But somebody's asking about the average revenue impact, and specifically they're asking in the financial service industry. I know you talked a bit about some ROI and some case studies, but do you want to reiterate some of the things you talked about when it comes to what kind of revenue impact can people expect?
Sure. I guess that is a how long is a piece of string question, because first it depends on what products you're selling. It depends on how you're selling them, what's available online, what's available through your contact center, et cetera. But, you know, I can talk about the customer that we looked at that actually was seeing an extra $2 million worth of revenue just in parts when we're talking about plumbing. We've worked with financial services customers as well who report similar increases literally off the back of being able to up and cross-sell through clustered knowledge, the concept that Kate was talking about on self-service applications. So it could be actually suggesting to customers through related information, these are products that you may not have. So I'm hesitant to pin an exact number on it, but what I will say is the example that I gave in the slide is not a one-off by any stretch of the imagination. And it does tend to be use cases you see both on the self-service side as well as the agent side where you see those increases.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's fair. Like you said, it's a bit of a how long is a piece of string. Kate, this one is for you. Now, somebody asked, if I already have a knowledge base, do I have to start over from scratch?
No, you don't. You can definitely port the knowledge into a new knowledge management solution, and all vendors will give you tools to be able to ingest content in bulk, but you probably want, before you ingest all your content, you want to look at the quality of the content that you have in your knowledge base. And typically what we find is that most knowledge management solutions have a lot of content that's not utilized. It's either underutilized because it is not easily findable, it's not optimized for easy consumption, or it may not be relevant anymore. So we always suggest a cleanup or an audit of current content before you ingest into a new knowledge base. And Heather, from a tactical perspective, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'd say I completely agree with you. And what you have to be careful is you're not setting up a situation where it's kind of garbage in, garbage out. A knowledge management system used properly should not just be a collection of every single data point within your organization. I think properly used, particularly if you have a knowledge system that has useful MI and intelligence behind it, will be able to give you the tools that will report on how the knowledge is being used, what gaps you may have within your knowledge base, and what knowledge is no longer being utilized, that actually allows you the facilities to help and automate that process as well. But I absolutely agree with you. Just a lift and shift is never the recommended approach when deploying even a knowledge base from scratch, let alone one from one to another.
Thanks. All right, I'm going to give you a two-part question. I'm trying, for the sake of time, I'm going to combine a few different questions that I saw into one. So the first part is, best practices around where to start in terms of should you first deploy knowledge in self-service or should you deploy it in those agent-assisted interactions? What should come first? And then the second part of this, which is kind of related, is a couple people asked if you, Heather, could go into a little more specifics around what exactly does Verint offer when it comes to our knowledge management product. So what are the different, knowledge management for agents, for self-service? So if you could first talk about best practices for what comes first, and then give just a little rundown on what exactly we offer.
Sure. So in terms of which comes first, from my point of view, and others may recommend it differently, but I would say wherever you can get it up and running the fastest, because you're absolutely going to see that combination of improved customer experience and increased operational efficiency, regardless of where you start. So my recommendation would be start wherever it's going to be the easiest, with the caveat that you go into it with a plan to actually start addressing those additional use cases. Some of the most successful knowledge deployments I've seen, regardless of where they started, are approaching it with the ethos of, we may be starting in the contact center, for example, but we are approaching it knowing that we are going to be supplying that one version of the truth to our customers as well through a web self-service application, or to customers using our app, or to our employees. And so if you have that knowledge lifecycle built in, I would say start wherever organizationally you're going to get the fastest traction. In terms of what knowledge management products Verint is able to provide, we provide knowledge management for all the use cases that I was just talking about. So contact center, web self-service, again, it can be integrated into apps, IVA, et cetera. All those different channels, we're able to provide knowledge management as the foundational level through that. And some of the great things that I was talking about in terms of automation, AI, the learning through interactions are all part of the core knowledge management offering that we're taking to the market.
Great, thanks, Heather. Kate, did you have anything to add on the which comes first questions?
I think Heather's right. It's wherever you can get it going, but I typically see companies starting with knowledge as an agent first knowledge, again, to be able to ensure that the answers are accurate or complete. And then once that the answer is vetted by the agent, it's exposed to self-service, and then with that push to self-service, there's also the customer education to ensure that your customers are aware of your knowledge on the website, so that they start using it and coming to your website, coming to your mobile site to be able to consume knowledge. But again, if you know your top call drivers and they're simple, reproducible questions that are easily answered, those are great self-service candidates.
Great. Thanks, Kate. Now we've only got a couple minutes left, so any questions we missed, we will follow up with you. But I wanted to leave a couple minutes to let you know that if you liked this, there is more where that came from. We have another webinar. Heather Richards will be back, and she is bringing with her this time some of our customers from Equinity, and they're going to talk about their knowledge management story. They're going to talk about how knowledge plays a leading role in digital strategy. So that's going to be another really exciting topic. This says Access Registration in the Resources tab. Actually, the way we set it up is that the registration for the webinar is going to pop up directly in your webinar screen that you're in right now. So if you want to hear more about knowledge and hear it right from a customer who's using it, then please fill out that registration when you finish this event. It's sure to be another really great conversation. And if you want even more resources, on that resources tab, you'll be able to get a lot of other information about knowledge management and about Verint's offerings in the knowledge management space. You also will get an email that has a recording of this webinar in about 24 hours, and you'll also have a PDF version of the slides presented today in that resources tab. If you have other questions about anything else, you can always get in touch with us at info@verint.com for any other questions that come to mind. So that's about all the time we have. I want to give a big thank you to Kate and Heather. This was a great conversation. I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did, and I thank you guys so much, and all of you who attended, thank you so much for your time as well. This concludes our webinar. Have a great day, everyone.